All right, so taking a minute or two off from writing to talk about another topic, and Zane would like to talk to you as well. Here he is. Here's Zane. About a movie I was watching the other night with my wife, The Imitation Game, which was a great movie. It's a good movie. It's a story that ought to be told. More people ought to know about it. I'm not. I don't really like to say, well, this is a story that needs to be told. Good stories should be told always. But Alan Turing's very important in the history of science, computing, our everyday lives. And if they're going to make a movie about Thomas Edison, they should make a movie about Alan Turing. And there's also the tragedy of his life. It was a good movie in well acted, well shot, and everything. Despite the fact that there is this cliche in it seems like every damn movie that is made about a scientist or a mathematician has this same problem, which is that the scientists are portrayed as in very a very cliche manner, and it's always, well, it's cliche, so it's always the same. And that cliche is of a lone, rebellious genius who doesn't know how to get along with people, doesn't works by himself mainly, and has some idea that just comes out of thin air, and changes the world or ends the war or saves millions of lives or whatever. And that really bothers me, because for a couple of reasons. One, and most importantly, it's bad storytelling. And I'll get into why. But the other reason it bothers me is that I was a scientist for a long time, and science doesn't work that way. Scientists don't work that way. And I think that's I speaking of things I'm not a fan of, I'm not a fan of saying, well, this is a bad message to send to children, but it is. I thought as a scientist that I could get along that way, and that was the main, as a loner and not joining a team. Come here, Zane. Come here. Come here, boy. Come on. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. I might have to do some editing here because the dog wants to go inside. Now the other dog wanted to come outside. So, where was I? I thought that as a scientist I could get along by not being part of a team. And that doesn't work because science requires a lot of resources and a lot of time, and it requires management. You can't do things by yourself. You need to be part of a team. And so the best way to be a successful scientist is to join a good team and, contribute what you can, and then maybe someday you'll have your own team. The problem with movies about scientists is they always portray these scientists as on the fringes and, being struck by these ideas that are going to change the world. And if you look at the history of science, or even if you just do a cursory search on Wikipedia, I mean, this is exactly what happened. I look up Alan Turing the next day, and I find out he did not come up with the idea to use computing to break the Enigma codes by himself. He got the idea from a Polish scientist who was trying before the war to break the Enigma codes using a digital computer, and I guarantee you that guy got the idea from somebody else. So, one, good scientists are often good managers. They know how to work on a team, even the ones who are portrayed as not knowing how to work on a team. And two, their ideas their ideas aren't from God. They are based on previous work, and quite often, even the people who have these great ideas, often don't get credit, because there's somebody who's a better manager, somebody who has a better idea of how to get a team together to make those ideas work. Green fluorescent protein is a great example. The guy who actually discovered green fluorescent protein ended up driving a bus and did not get the Nobel Prize. Okay, he quit science, and he hardly got any of the credit. Rosalind Franklin is another example that's often bemoaned, and she's often portrayed as a loner that couldn't get along with anybody, which is also BS. But Watson and Crick and Wilkins and the other people, they did get the credit for discovering the structure of DNA because they worked on a team. And if Franklin had been alive when they gave out the Nobel Prize for that, she would have gotten it. But this begs the question as to why are scientists portrayed this way? And I think there's a few good reasons. One that Orson Scott Card brings up in his excellent book on how to write fantasy and science fiction, which is titled How to Write Fantasy and Science Fiction, or is it How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy? I can never remember. He says that this happens because scientists like to think of themselves this way. They don't want to think of themselves as being part of a team. They don't want to think of themselves as cogs in a wheel, which strangely there's a line in the Imitation Game where I forget the name of the admiral who says this to him. He says, "You are a cog in a very large machine," and the character Turing's response to that is, "Oh no, I'm not." But scientists, anybody, not just scientists, but people, they don't like to think of themselves as just one member of an enormous team that, is going to contribute some infinitesimal piece to inventing the light bulb or, making a better shoehorn or something like that. They want to think of themselves as the ones who did it. I'm the one who wrote Stairway to Heaven, or I'm the one who, built a better mousetrap or whatever. Speaking of cliches, okay. But I think there's something else going on, which is, again, comes back to why do we want to portray people this way? But my big gripe is that scientists are not portrayed as scientists. Again, if you look at the history of science, even going back as far as, the Middle Ages, before the scientific revolution, before Newton, if you look at the history of science, what you'll find is teams and managers, okay? Oppenheimer did not create the atomic bomb by himself. He created the atomic bomb by building a team and building a city around that project. And that would be a great movie, You have Richard Feynman over in the corner playing the drums, and you've got Enrico Fermi and all these great characters working together as a team. It would be more like a sports movie than it would be like A Beautiful Mind. Okay? But if you look at the way scientists and mathematicians are portrayed, and I just find this funny because I have been both, a scientist, a mathematician, and a writer. They're not portrayed as scientists and mathematicians. They're wizards. And of course, we love movies about wizards. But, another problem is even a great wizard wouldn't be a wizard. He wouldn't be a hermit just hanging out. And, he would have apprentices. Like the guy in Dragon Slayer. So it's clear that there's it's clear to me from that there's some deep psychological need. Okay, in Jungian terms, there's this archetype that we all have a wizard inside of us. We all have this character who, conjures up some symbols or tricks the gods or something, and something goes boing, and they're able to change the world. So that's one way of looking at it psychologically. The other way is in terms of defense mechanisms. And I don't know if I'm saying this in terms of specifically on Freud's type of defense mechanism, but the thing that, and I wrote about this on my blog, I think, somewhere. I wrote it down somewhere. It's in a notebook somewhere. But there's this dual effect of thinking of great things, great contributions to society as things that you don't have to work for, which is that if we portray scientists, mathematicians, musicians, creative people of any kind, not as making their contributions to society through hard work and practice and deliberate, intention, then we get this nifty double effect, which is one, oh, well, I'm not going to put in a bunch of hard work and all that stuff, and then nobody will expect much from me. Okay? So if I don't have to work hard, the expectations are low, and I don't have to, be a genius. Okay. But then the other side of that is that if you can become a genius by being touched by God, then maybe it can happen to you. Maybe you'll just be in the shower one day and you'll have an idea that will change the world. Or you'll write Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that. Or La Bamba, Like, there's this interesting double effect of, oh, well, I'm not one of those people. So the expectations are low. I don't have to worry about all that crap of people thinking I might change the world, or might, make something good for dinner, or get to work on time. I don't have to be like one of those people, like Freddie Mercury or Alan Turing or who else? Nash, John Nash, or these geniuses. I don't have to be one of those people. I can just maybe get to work on time 3 times a week, and not burn dinner, and that'll be okay. The expectations are at a comfortable level. Okay, but maybe one day I'll be walking down the street and I'll see, a peanut shell on the ground, and I'll figure out, how to create nuclear fusion. Maybe that lightning will hit me. Because all it took for these other people who changed, for, Thomas Edison or Isaac Newton or Tesla or, the inventor of the tractor, any of these people that changed the world and created better fertilizer or whatever, all it took for them was they were just sitting around and boing, they got a lightning bolt in their third eye, and then, hey, now the world's a better place. So we get to this point, we tell stories like this because it gives people hope. And I say I really try not to tell stories like this because it's BS. It's total baloney to, especially writers. Writers have a responsibility to tell the truth about how they come up with their stories. And this is what I was talking about in my other video, is that people always want to know the stuff that's not fiction. And if I told you how science gets done, or how a novel gets written, or how, The Wall by Pink Floyd was made, or something like that, you would be bored. So it's up to us as storytellers to figure out how to be honest without boring our audience. And probably the best way to do that is to write about wizards. So that's what I do. So if you have any other ideas about how or why we insist on telling stories like this about people who are just, everybody complains about the chosen one trope, and I actually don't think that's bad. Because But if you do have thoughts on this, just feel free to share them. But everybody has a problem with the chosen one trope, but there's always a good reason that one is the chosen one. I mean, my favorite, Randall Thor, he's the chosen one because the universe is deterministic. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. So, Rand ends up as the chosen one, or Luke Skywalker, because of history, because of determinism, and that's perfectly good. That's a great reason for them to be the chosen one. Why not? Why the hell shouldn't Huckleberry Finn be the chosen one? He's perfect for the role he plays. I'm trying to think of an example that's not depressing. I was thinking Captain Ahab, or Hester Prynne, but the chosen one is great as long as there's a reason for the. I mean, you don't have the chosen one just because, well, I'm sorry, you're the chosen one. And in a good story, the chosen one will find out why. I'm saying that in our history, as we tell stories about scientists and writers and musicians and other creative people, we need to be honest, and we need to have that backing. See, that's the problem. Is that this story about Alan Turing, it doesn't say why he has this idea or why his team was able to find the solution they found to the Enigma problem. It's just they're in a bar and, oh, whoa, I get it, it doesn't say he actually was a good manager. It doesn't say he actually was even a good mathematician. Just that, just like, yeah, oh, lucky us that work actually got done and, he actually made progress. No, it's not lucky. It's that in every story there needs to be a firm line of causation, and these stories that tell, about mathematicians and scientists as wizards, or even musicians, or writers, or whoever it is. The problem with that touched by God thing is that it doesn't have a firm presentation of causation. Okay, so Orson Scott Card again says a story is a presentation, an ordered presentation of a chain of causation. And in these stories where you're just the chosen one for no reason, or the scientist is just touched by this amazing idea or whatever, there is a break in the chain of causation, and that sucks as far as storytelling goes. It's lazy, it's dishonest, it's immoral. Okay, so give me your thoughts. Why do we need stories like this? Why did Hollywood insist on doing this again and again? And why can't there just be a movie about scientists where they're working like a football team, which is closer to reality? Have a nice day.